Derik Queen is your favorite player in this draft class. Do I have that right?
I'm glad that you are getting accustomed to how we operate here. And yes, he most certainly is.
I'm excited to be here with you, tagging along for the Carter Elliott Derik Queen Love Fest journey that this video will be. Derik Queen was a sensational one and done center at Maryland in his 1 year at college. 16 and a half points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists a game. One of the most skilled bigs that college basketball has seen in a very long time. That sounds like a big heaping pile of praise to throw on a kid that's not a consensus top three pick, but he's a consensus lottery pick for a reason. There's some massive upside here if this works. There are also some questions or reasons for skepticism on why it might not work, but I can tell you truthfully, Carter is in a good spot as one of the early adopters of Derik Queen because it's impossible to watch this kid and not love watching him. It's just more fun to watch Derik Queen play basketball than it is most prospects of his size or skill set, even. Car, what's your general pulse on why you love Derik Queen so much?
Well, one, I love obviously the skill set at his size is so intriguing to me. But I think honestly the thing that made me fall in love with Derik Queen, even going back to the Montverde days, is not only just how he plays the game, because I think there's certain players that you fall in love with how they play, but I think it's how he like sees the game. Like some of the stuff he does, just like basketball IQ, intelligency wise, I think just adds to the fact that you pair that with his skill set and his size, it just makes him such an intriguing prospect, G. Like, some of the things he tries to do, you can look back to that like one-legged game winner he had against Colorado State. Like even the ability to just kind of slow down and kind of do like that little slow two-step fading away, like going off the backboard. He just like he seems so just willing to try and think things and be intelligent about how he scores because though he has great size, he's not necessarily the greatest athlete or the fastest or the quickest, but I think that he knows that, but he's still able to utilize his size and his skill set and think the game at a very high level. And also, like, just, I know this doesn't really factor into it as much as you think, but like, obviously, just kind of a lovable kid. Like, I think I just like Derik Queen's personality a lot. I think that he plays the game with joy. Um, and it's just fun to watch.
Yeah, completely agree. He had a couple viral moments late in the year in their March run. Like he hit the game winner, and then they put a microphone in front of him, and they were like, what gave you the ability to make that play, or why did Kevin Willard go to you in the final play here?" And he was just like, "Man, because I'm from Baltimore." Like, I love that. Like he just always repping for where he's from. There is a joy. There's a fun nature to all things Derik Queen that shined through. And I think you're right. The athleticism stuff is the big concern. He had some issues at the combine in terms of how he tested and measurements and scores of that nature. But you're drafting Derik Queen for the skill upside here. And I can tell you truthfully, even against the best competition he played in college, it really wasn't an issue for him to go up against other athletic players at his position. You think of some of these guys, the Big Ten was loaded in the front court spots last year. You had Danny Wolf, who is going to be a first round pick, Vlad Golden, who may get drafted at Michigan. Derik Queen was great against those guys. You had, there's a lot of other college studs, but you had the Niederhauser kid at Penn State that became what he measured the best combine score any center has ever had. And
Mhm.
Yannick Conan Niederhauser, Derik Queen gave him 23 and 6 with 4 steals and 2 blocks. Like there's just not that many concerns about him, even if you have the concerns. Let's get to some of our strengths and weaknesses here, though. And reminder, if you like this video, if you like the format of it, we're doing this for the top 80 players on our big board. So we're dropping 3 per day every single day leading up to our NBA draft live show later in the summer. Derik Queen is on our big board, the eighth player overall. I rated him ninth. You rated him sixth, which was tied for the highest of anybody on our team that worked on these videos. What are the strengths that made you rank Derik Queen sixth?
Skill. I think basketball skill level at his size is what I think puts it up against, some of the other prospects in this class. I also think that you with the offensive skill that he has, I do think I project him also to be a guy that can eventually turn into a guy that can shoot the ball better than he does currently, as he does, because he does shoot a good amount of jumpers. They didn't necessarily go down at a very high clip, at least consistently. There were flashes where you were able to see that. But I think combining a guy that has, the burliness, I guess is the word I would use with him, with the height and the footwork, which I think is impeccable, and the soft touch around the basket, I project him to be a guy that can turn that into a very respectable jumper, which I think will make him one of the better players in this class. 'Cause I think he'll be able to get buckets and then he'll also rebound at an extremely high level. He has great hands, great footwork, uses his size. Um, and I think some people refer to him as a tweener a little bit, given the fact that he's, not necessarily the quickest of feet, I guess, but he's light on his feet, right? Got a little bit of dancing bear to his game, a little bit like Şengün, like I guess is who I would say it's like. But yeah, I think that Derik Queen's size and skill level makes him one of the better players in this class.
I thought about Şengün for my player comp later in the video. That's the end of the video, so stay tuned.
Mhm.
But I like that shout. Yeah, it's IQ, it's skill. Like he handles like a guard. He can pass like a guard. He'll make some flashy passes you don't normally see. He's got tough shot making ability. Basically, all sort of offensive package skill set stuff you could find from a 6'10 front court player. Derik Queen has. He's the dream in terms of skill. And I think IQ is the thing that people don't give him enough credit for. He really does process the game at such a high level, offensively especially. That's what makes some of his weaknesses a little frustrating because a player that's as smart as him should not have some of the issues he has outside of just athleticism concerns. What would you list as his biggest weaknesses?
One, the shooting, I guess, is the kind of what I'd bring up now. Also, like outside of actual stat stuff, I will say this: there were some moments where you got frustrated watching Derik Queen. A little bit of like, yeah, not lackadaisical because I don't necessarily think he never didn't play the game hard, but just a little bit of like he would float. I think I would see him float sometimes or see him settle a lot. I think when he was aggressive at all times and he was, kind of taking that role on, he was honestly unstoppable and he could dominate his matchup. And we saw that a lot during the season. But there was also, I think back to Michigan State versus Maryland, and he let Carson Cooper think that he could check him by settling or by not being aggressive. And I thought that sometimes that would hurt him and that he didn't necessarily use his gifts and his skills and settled a little bit.
Yeah, he had a game, 17 minutes, four fouls, 4 points on seven shots with one rebound against Great Osibor in
Yeah, he's too
Washington.
good for that.
He's way too good for that. And I was wondering if you'd get there because, again, you are his biggest advocate. I figured you'd talk about the shooting, which is not as good as it's billed. I mean, he's billed as like a guy that can really stretch the floor. He's not really. He hit 7 threes in college, 7 for 35, 20%. He always took them. He would take his one a game, and it very rarely went in. In fact, Cart, he made 5 threes in their final 4 games of the season. Before that, he was 2 for 30 from the floor from three. So I don't really think that's going to be a part of his game at the NBA level. It might need to be because he might need to be a little more perimeter oriented. But to me, the biggest weakness by far with Derik Queen, it's not anything athleticism wise, even though those are on the list. The biggest weakness is his motor. His motor just disappears. And I'm struggling to find prospects in my life. I'm 32. I can't recall many players as smart as Derik Queen that have the IQ that see things at the level he does that have motor concerns. Those don't map for me. Normally, if you have motor concerns, like I don't trust your IQ. So I don't know if it's one of those things where Derik Queen just has been able to get away with it and he's kind of lazy because he is so smart and he takes advantage of that. It's not going to fly at the NBA level, though. Like straight up, if he has motor lapses in the league, we may not hear from him all that much. And if he fixes that, we're talking about a very tantalizing player. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think it's fair. And I have like the hardest time, like that's this, I guess, deciphering whether it's like motor or it's just like not. You, I'm like stuck between like motor because like that guy's just like actually checking out, or like just I guess the word I use is floating, right? Like he's just kind of like the skill is like I'm too cool type game instead of like having that aggressive and that switch, because I've seen him flip the switch and just straight up bust the other player's ass. And I think he can do that every single time if he wanted to. But to your point, that's not going to fly in the NBA, right? You can't just, there's no just like flipping it on and off type situation. You need to be on aggressive and on go at all times.
Yeah, I think in college he was just good enough to do that. In the NBA,
Yeah,
I don't think he will be. So
yeah.
we'll see where it goes. All right, let's get to our categories here. Give me one word to describe Derik Queen.
Took the easy way out here. I said skilled. I think
I,
he's the most skill. I think he's the most skilled player in the draft.
I said infuriating because he is the most skilled player in the draft. And for him to just take plays off and go through these every time I watched him, either he was on against my team and I was infuriated, or he was off against some bums and I'm like, why isn't that the version I got to play against? You know?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
crazy.
He did bust Michigan's ass this year, didn't he?
He was incredible and it was infuriating to watch. And then the next game when he did nothing, it was more infuriating to watch. Floor or ceiling, which one is he more likely to hit?
Ceiling.
I said ceiling as well, but I'd like us both to explain our thought process on that. Because there's a lot of people, I think, even that are fans of Derik Queen, that would say this is a bust potential prospect compared to some in the lottery.
Yeah, I agree. The only thing that I think prevents it from being from the actual like bust potential of it is that I think the skill that he has will prevail and the size. Like, can't teach that size, you can't teach that skill. And you know what? I know you brought up the motor concerns, but I guess I'm just a little bit less concerned about like him just completely being like motor off lackadaisical at that level. I think that he's shown over his career to be too good for that. And yeah, I'm just less concerned about the motor, which is why I feel good about him reaching his ceiling.
So I went with the ceiling specifically because I think the floor is lower than the ceiling is high with him. And maybe you'll disagree with me on that, but to me, given the challenges he has athletically, and he is 6'10", he's not 7'1". He might be very, very good in the NBA, but I don't think there's like MVP potential superstardom coming. It's just like he'll be a starter if he's good. I think the floor is lower than that. I think the floor is like, oh my God, this is a disaster. But I don't think that's as likely as it is that he's a starter. So it's like there's more risk, but I'm going to say he's more likely to reach the best outcome than the worst outcome, just because the worst outcome is pretty bad here compared to how good he could be. Let's talk about team fit here with Derik Queen. He's a guy that could go as high as maybe fifth or sixth in this draft. He's a guy that could fall to the end of the lottery, and I wouldn't be all that surprised. What team are you hoping he ends up on?
So I had the Bulls as the best fit for him. I think the Bulls need somebody in the front court, and also like with the Bulls in general, I think they have some backcourt and some wing pieces that also are very skill level players. Like they have Lonzo, Josh Giddey has turned himself into like this guy that is a triple double threat. Kobe White is like this microwave scorer. If Patrick Williams stays healthy, I like him on the wing. I just think they need something in the front court, and honestly, a lot of this is very much stationed around the fact that I don't want to watch Nikola Vucevic play basketball anymore for the Chicago Bulls.
I guess that's fair. Chicago would be one of those ones I'd actually be worried about him on
Mm,
because I just think they're stuck in purgatory. And I don't know. I kind of think Derik Queen needs to end up on a team that's playing competitive basketball. Otherwise, it could enhance some of his issues. Like if he gets
mm,
stuck on a franchise that has no hope of being in the playoffs, may not even want to win, it's going to build losing habits in a player that already has a lot of losing habits. I think he
yeah,
needs to go somewhere that's like ready to compete, which is why, hear me out on this. I would love to see him go off the board 10th to Houston. And I understand that Sengun, who we think has some similarities to Derik Queen, is in Houston. But if I'm Houston, I would think long and hard about this. Could I trade Sengun and other things for Giannis and then draft Derik Queen as a Sengun replacement
I like that a lot.
and end up with Derik Queen as my potential starting center, Giannis in the front court? You still got Ahmed Thompson, who knows what else? I would love that. I think Sengun is great, but Derik Queen is one of the few men on earth that could potentially replicate some of that, and you've got a chance to cash him in for a big chip right now. That's what I'm hoping happens, and if it does happen, I will applaud Houston immensely for that.
Yeah,
Derik Queen in Houston would be interesting, though.
Yeah, it would be, but I do like the fit though. I do like that.
Like logistically present in Houston would be interesting.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, but I think it'd be all right.
Yeah, okay, it could work. In 5 years, where is he? He could be all NBA, an all-star, a starter, a bench guy, or theoretically worse if you want.
I got to double down on it. I felt safe about starter, but I do think that, Derik Queen is going to be a guy that is going to be, you know, I think filling up the stat sheet for a good NBA team by the time in 5 years. So I'm gonna say he ends up being an all-star.
Collectively, our team has a lot of all-star answers for this year. We love this draft class and it's good, but I'd be surprised if there's like 10 all-stars 5 years from now here.
Yeah. Well, also a lot of this, I had this as starter originally. Then when I went over to my best case comp, depending on if he gets there, that best case comp is an all-star in 5 years.
I wonder if we have the same best case comp. I said starter. I think he will be good enough to be a starter. I'm locking in with that. Let's get to our superlative here. Give me your answer with no explanation here, and then we'll both say it and go from there. Derik Queen is most likely to what?
Average a double-double as a rookie.
I said Derik Queen is most likely to have an AAU program named after him called Derik Queen Elite. Uh, give me your explanation of the double doubles first.
Well, one, I just think the skill level, like I said, is going to be good enough on the offensive end. But the thing he doesn't get credit enough, I think, is that he uses that size and to wedge out space on the defense. And he has amazing hands and just feet in general, where he's able to just kind of just rebound at an extremely high level. I thought he would have rebounded even better if it wasn't for having playing next to such a great rebounder in Julian Reese at Maryland. I think those two kind of honestly took rebounds from each other. But I think Derik Queen immediately is going to come in and average almost 10 rebounds a game. And I think the points, obviously, he's going to be up there as well.
He does feel like a guy that if he just lands somewhere that plays him, could win you like a fantasy league just by
Yeah.
loading up some categories right away. I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the idea of him having his own AAU team because, like, like there's like Tyler Hero's AAU team, and I don't know, there's worse players than Tyler Hero even that
You
have,
know Anthony Black as an AAU team?
yeah, like those type guys. But Derik Queen loves Baltimore so much, he's almost guaranteed to like build a team in the DMV.
Facts.
And like 7 years from now, DMV's best prospects are playing for Derik Queen Elite,
Yeah, facts.
which would
Also
be
great
great,
nickname.
by the way.
Like
Yeah.
Queen Elite.
Yeah, we could get some logos. I'm all the way in on it. All right, let's get to our comps. I'm very excited for this. Best case scenario comparison for Derik Queen is who?
DeMarcus Cousins.
I said DeMarcus Cousins as well. You can explain it.
Yeah, so one, I just think that DeMarcus Cousins was a guy around that 6'10", 6'11" range as well. Wasn't a crazy athlete. Also, to your point, there was a lot of like concerns about DeMarcus Cousins' motor and what it would be, and if DeMarcus Cousins could turn into a shooter. Now, it took him some time. Don't get me wrong. DeMarcus Cousins at Kentucky, Greg, attempted 6 3-pointers and he hit one, right? Even coming into the NBA, his first couple years, 16% from three, 14% from three, 18% from three. And then like 5 or 6 years, he bumps it up to 33% in like 2015 with Sacramento. Then he's like right around 35, 37, 35. Even shot 42% later in the 2020 year. Didn't play necessarily that much, but it was a guy that could knock down and be a respectable 3-point threat while also just giving you 20 and 10. Like he was a certified 20 and 10. And also in his best years, he could also give you 4 or 5 assists as well. I think the best case scenario for Derik Queen is DeMarcus Cousins.
They're both 6'10" centers with maybe physical concerns that it was all skill, right? I think all of the questions we raised for Derik Queen in the weaknesses section would have applied to coming out of college DeMarcus Cousins.
Yeah.
DeMarcus Cousins is the 1% outcome, and that's the best case scenario. You're hoping that's what he becomes if you do this, and all the fun elements of Boogie also would apply to DQ in theory. Yeah, it's one of those ones. It feels so obvious. You almost want to try and get more creative, but it's real. I think there's a reason everybody comps him to Boogie, and hopefully he can live up to that high expectation. Let's go to worst case comparison. Who do you have for Derik Queen?
So I had a hard time trying to find out like what the worst case for a guy that kind of has the skill that I guess he has. I said Wendell Carter Jr., who is kind of just like this bench piece, 6'10" guy, averages like 9 and 7, can stretch the floor a tiny bit, but like a good rebounder, productive player. And also there was like a week or two of the season where Wendell Carter was like a starter and messed around and gave you like 5 or 6 assists a game. Honestly, it was pretty productive. Got himself a pretty big contract. But yeah, I had Wendell Carter Jr. as his worst case scenario.
That's a really good worst case scenario for a guy with as many questions as Derik Queen.
I love Derik Queen. Did I mention
I
that?
know you do. You do. Can't wait to see what you think of mine. Rest in peace, Caleb Swanigan.
Ooh,
Undersized center with motor concerns, with physical weight gain concerns, that the entire sell is how skilled and fun he is, but you land in the wrong situation that isn't optimizing the body. All of a sudden, the body doesn't get where it needs to be. All of a sudden, you're out of the league and you never get a chance. Again, I understand my floor is so low here. That's
hmm.
why I think he's more likely to hit his ceiling, even though I have some skepticism. But I think that's a real potential outcome here, as much as I hate to say it. Now, Biggie Swanigan never really did anything in the league, and I think worst case for DQ, it would look similar, where he bops around between multiple teams, never plays more than like 20, 30 games in a season, and teams just can't trust rolling the dice on him.
Yeah, I mean, that's a man. That might is that like the furthest like ceiling floor scenario you have?
It's the biggest gap between a ceiling and a floor that I have on my entire draft sheet right now.
I mean, that kind of checks out where you're at with Derek Queen, though.
Yeah, right. Because it's he'll be one guy one day and one the next, and
Yeah, he'll
I'm
also
doing
always
everything
have
with
one fan, no matter what. Derek, I'll be
it.
here.
Well, you love Caleb Swanigan too, so
Yeah, I
it
did
all
very
works
much
out.
so.
All right. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Derik Queen is a fun player. Go watch some film if you haven't seen him too much. We have 79 more of these. We have a big board of our top 80 prospects in the draft. We're dropping 3 per day on the YouTube channel, I believe at 10 a.m. Eastern every single morning. Go subscribe to the Sleepers Media YouTube channel so that you can see them all.